Oh, hey, I didn't see you there, but I'm excited that you're here because today we're going to be talking about how acting and confidence are like dressing well. All right, if you're asking yourself what acting and style have in common, I understand that seems like that can be kind of a weird stretch, but we're gonna get there, I promise. So this whole video, and honestly this whole premise, it's based on two different things, and let's talk about each one of those, and then we'll piece it all together, and I hope this will help you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from with all this. All right, first one. This is a comment that I don't see a whole lot on my own channel. I think a lot of it is because you guys have already kind of moved beyond that, but I just want to articulate this point a little bit further, especially because I see this comment a ton on other guys' channels. And it's basically the idea of it's impossible to dress poorly as long as you're being confident. The most important thing when it comes to dressing well or dressing better is that you need to be confident in whatever it is that you're wearing. And don't get me wrong, in fact, I know a lot of you guys are probably gonna take this the wrong way right out of the gate, and so let's just clear this up. I believe that confidence is a huge component of success in your life. Not only success sartorially, but success in any single aspect of your life. However, confidence is not the end-all, be-all, trumping factor that is going to supersede and override everything else in order to lead you from failure to success. Confidence is a huge component, but it is by no means the only necessary factor. For example, take this video. That guy was pretty confident, right? But it didn't matter because his timing and his ability didn't help him out. In fact, it was his overconfidence that actually ended up hurting him. Or do you remember this clip from Indiana Jones? Yeah, no one's gonna argue that Mr. Swordmaster was not confident in his ability to fight Indiana, but the confidence was completely irrelevant when he was up against superior force. So confidence only has value when it actually works in tandem with competence. Now, yes, we'll talk a little bit deeper about the difference between kind of like competence and confidence and where there should be some discrepancy, because I do think that you need to be a little bit more confident than what your actual level of competence are. But let's dive into that after we talk about point number two. Now, point number two ties all of this into acting a little bit better. Now, that little scene was obviously something that was way over the top, and you could argue that that was done from a position of confidence, that I was acting way over the top because I was confident in my ability to do so. But even if you were to see a scene that was way underdone, like watch this one. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there, but I'm excited because today we are talking about how acting and confidence are like dressing well. Same thing, it's just underacted, but my confidence level could be the same, whether it's underacting, performing the way that I'm supposed to, or overacting. Now, I'm not an actor. I mean, yeah, I have to do a little bit of it because you're not here. This is just a camera that I'm talking to, and so I have to be able to kind of get into that mindset. But I'm not an actor. I don't have any real official training on it, but I know that when I go watch something, I don't want to see somebody who's completely over the top and totally takes it to an extreme because it's condescending and it's obviously done by an amateur. Nor do I want to see somebody who doesn't have any ability to act whatsoever. Everything is really monotone and boring. There's no vocal inflection. There's no emotion. Eye contact never leaves. It's just boring and overrated, and I don't want anything to do with that either. Both extremes can be done by somebody who is equally confident, but The competence is what's huge. Now, why tie all this into those things? Because we can talk about confidence in every regard. Well, if you think about it this way, clothing is communication, acting is communication, and when you go from maybe you're Mr. Monotone, or maybe you're, pretty good, pretty natural, but you just want to step it up a notch, a lot of times guys go way over here into super bad acting territory, or at least sartorially speaking, that same equivalent. And just like you don't want to be around somebody who is always over the top, everything is like the best, or it's the complete worst and I just want to kill myself. I don't want to be around people who are like that. I'm sure that you don't want to be around people who are like that, because then you can't actually trust anything that they're saying. Everything is hyperbole. I don't want to be around people who are sartorially hyperbolic either, because then it takes all the power out of dressing well. If you're always dressed up, you're never dressed up. If you're always dressed down, you're never dressed down. Your communication is killed when you kill the ability to actually go to extremes based on the appropriateness of the situation. Now that said, there is variation to this, and you guys know that this is one of the reasons why I have such a hard time drawing hard and fast rules. Like if I were to say the only time it's appropriate to wear a suit is in X, Y, or Z situation, because that's not the case. Like we've talked about before, so much of this is both tribal and environmental. So let's go back to the acting example. When I was in LA with all the guys from Man Camp, one of the things that we did was we went to an improv comedy club one night. And it was cool, it was pretty fun. The entire comedy troupe was a bunch of girls, and then for special guests, they invited in an actor. If you guys remember watching The Office, it's Asian Jim. I'm pretty sure he's got his own show on ABC now and everything. Anyway, he was good, he was entertaining, and the whole show was pretty entertaining. But one of the things that was so interesting is as he's telling his story that they're using to kind of set up the scenes that they're gonna be acting, he's telling a relatively mundane, somewhat emotional story about how he had one director when he was early on in his acting days who was just a total jerk to him. And the thing that was so interesting about it was as he's telling his story, yeah, he was just a jerk. I mean, he would talk to everybody else. He wouldn't necessarily talk to me, and it made me feel like I wasn't really welcome on set. The girls were doing, oh yeah. Oh, are you, yeah. And I mean, I just like, you casted me. I deserve to be here. I deserve to be here. I am here because you liked my audition, and just let me do my job. Wow, yeah. They were totally over the top. Totally over the top. Their responses were so much bigger than the story that he was actually telling. And it was one of those things that drew my attention so much that I actually brought it up with some of the other guys. And AJ, the guy who hosted us from Art of Charm, he told us that that's basically LA. That is the way that people who are wired like that, who everything goes over the top, end up coming to this city in an attempt to find success. And so that's just not only how they're wired, but that's then reinforced by the tribe of other people who are there with them and the environment of actually being on stage, even though they were off stage and they weren't necessarily performing for us because the focus was supposed to be on the actor himself. That was all there, that was all a component to it. So take that back to this whole idea of context and understanding both your tribe and your environment. If you live in LA, you're part of the acting tribe in LA, and you're on stage, you absolutely should probably go a little bit more over the top. That's why stage actors act differently than film actors, because it's necessary based on the environment. Same thing goes for your clothes. For example, you go out to a show like Market or Project or PT Womo. I was there in 2015, and the way that we were dressed was way over the top compared to what we would normally be seeing as appropriate, especially for guys like us who were based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Obviously not the sartorial menswear capital of the world, but in that environment and around that tribe, wearing this bold clothing was absolutely appropriate. That overacting was completely necessary. Okay, so let's bring this all full circle, because you can be confident whether you are over the top, under the top, or right on point. Confidence doesn't necessarily matter, but you need to have the confidence to know when it's necessary to go to what extreme, because there are definitely times when you need to be sartorially confident enough to be underdressed, to be downplayed, to blend in, to fit in, and to be subtle. There are certainly times when you need to have the sartorial confidence to be over the top, to stand out, to peacock, to draw attention, and to be able to handle all the pressure and everything that comes with that. But you also need to be able to have the sartorial confidence to be able to understand what it's like to be natural, so that when people see the story that you're telling with your clothing, it looks just as natural and it's just as appealing and it draws you in just as much as watching a good actor on a film. Because ultimately that's what you're doing. You're telling a story, you're trying to project who you are out and draw your audience in so that they're more interested in learning more about you and the actual story that you have to tell. Confidence is certainly a big part of that, but competence is a big one. Now, the last point to make with this is, let's say that your competence is only like a level 4 or level 5. You should be having the confidence to act like maybe you're a 5 or a 6. Keep it aspirational. If you're at a 4 or 5, don't act like you're a 9 or a 10, because that's when confidence becomes arrogance. And that's when you start to overdo it. That's when you start to think that you don't actually need the help of other people, or that there aren't people who are actually better at this than you are. And that arrogance is what kills progress. At the same time, if you're at a 4 or a 5, the worst thing that you can do is think you're at a 2 or a 3, or honestly even act like you're at a 4 or a 5, because that's either digression, that's that aesthetic entropy we've talked about, or that's stagnancy, and you don't want that either. And so take this whole principle, obviously apply it to your style because that's what we talk about, but apply it to everything. Apply it to your ability to talk to people, apply it to what you're good at with your job, and apply it to your hobbies or anything else. Take whatever your competence level is and then up your confidence level so it's 1 or 2 notches higher until it pulls that competence level up with it, and then don't keep it there. Go up again and again and again and again. And that's when you're actually going to be able to effectively live a successful and a productive life. Now again, knowing when and how to bring it down, when and how to bring it up, and giving yourself the confidence and competence to address that whole sartorial range, that's where true expertise lies. And that's the kind of stuff that you're never going to be able to get if all you're focused on is, well, can I wear a suit here, or what color matches with what? That's why you need to be able to dive in deeper on this other stuff. All right, guys, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this one. So make sure you leave a comment below. Let's make this a really good conversation. I'm excited to get some feedback from you guys. And I will talk to you on the next one.